Alright guys, we just got Gray Van back from the alignment shop. As you can see, we're taking it down the road. We're at speed. It feels alright. It's still got a little bit of a, I don't know, it rides rough. And at this point, I truly think it might just be these cheap Goodyear tires that are on it. So, it goes down the road straight. The wheel doesn't shake. It just feels funny. What's funny is I paid him over the phone and I was like, hey, just lock the keys in the car because I wasn't going to make it before they closed. And I get in here and I see the receipt and everything, and here I am. I'm looking for the keys and I can't find them anywhere. I'm like, they're not on the seat, not under the seat, not in the glove box, nowhere. And I turn around, my dad's the one who drove me in to pick up the car. He's like, hey, pull down the sun visor, and sure enough, the keys flop out as if it was like one of those movies. I'm trying to think of the Terminator scene is the one I'm thinking of, where the kid pops the sun visor and the keys fall out.
Are we learning yet?
It's crazy, it's just something silly like that. So, anyway, yeah, we're doing good. I'm happy with this. I think it cost us $163 or something, whatever, $125 for an alignment plus balance, so. Okay, so you guys might know me, and I wasn't going to give up that weird wobble that I swear on my life was not there when I drove it on the highway going in. So I did figure it out. Notice the trim rings and stuff are on the ground here. So first thing I noticed here, I was looking at the tires and everything. I was looking at this front one. So, I was talking about getting new rubber. Well, you can see this tires. It's starting to get down there. It's getting close. I mean, these is what I put these on it when I first bought it. I think they're 29 to 22. So, and I put 20-something thousand miles on it or whatever. So I'm like, it's getting down there, I was just checking out everything here. And I get over to this side. And the trim, mind you, trim ring's still on it, right? And I see that little grease mark. And I'm like, that's the wheel bearing grease from the rear tire. And I'm like, did he rotate this tire? I specifically had them not rotate them. Anyway, yeah, look at the tread on here. That's from being in the back, it's got no wear on it. The reason these two tires were in the back is because when I had them up front, when I originally drove it, like the first 5,000 miles, when you come from a stop, you'd feel it shimmy back and forth as if the tires were wobbling. So I put them in the back and that went away because I was troubleshooting that wobble. So I was just going to run them down and not rotate them just because those tires were kind of wobbly. Or wheels, I should say. But I'm like, that's the back tire. And so then I went back and I started looking at pictures and stuff. Because I got, obviously pictures and video, and I was trying to make out which tire came from where on the vehicle. And so if you notice this guy right here, that's pretty dead obvious where that one came from. You know where that came from? The right rear. You know where that tire came from? The right rear. So what he did, and I'm not going to fault him at all because if you're not, it is what it is. It happens. So he took the trim ring and everything off for a tire balance. I don't know if you're supposed to do that or not. I don't balance tires. I would think you'd want them on there when you spun it on the machine, and then took them off to put the weights on, and then put them back on. You know what I mean? That's what I would think, but because you'd want it balanced with that on there to get a perfect balance. But whatever. You'd also think these are balanced from the factory, so Anyway, that center cap and this trim ring, because that's a brand new trim ring, because I only had 3 when I bought it, and this one never had one on it. And then when I got a new one, when I got that new wheel, I also bought a trim ring. I just slapped the trim ring on the old wheel for now. That trim ring and center cap are from the right rear. That wheel and tire are from the right rear. So he flipped the wheel and tire for the right side while leaving the original center caps and stuff. So I got to take that center cap off because obviously it's broken. So you put that unbalanced center cap in the right rear with the crappy right rear wheel and tire. So I've got to flip them back. And I bet you that weird wobble goes away in my steering wheel. I bet you if you sat back here you'd feel it, but I bet you it goes away. Now the left side, they're status quo, just how they were before. So yeah, it's good that all the black wear marks where the paint is wore off, they're all different on each tire. Not to mention that grease, that was the giveaway right there. That's where I started suspecting. But
Yeah, that one was in the right spot. Good to go. That one's in the right spot.
Yeah, I was right. The shake is back to what it was before I drove it in for an alignment, which is pretty much nothing. At this point, I'm getting picky. I think really all Gray Van needs here is 4 new rims and 4 decent tires that aren't, you know, cheap $50 tires. I truly think that would be it. But right now, oh, it's cruising speed, it's perfect. So I'm good to go. It's funny that those tires were flipped. That right rear there's something funny with it, even if it's balanced. And it's always been that way since I've owned it. I kind of picked up on it early on. But yeah, so that tire stays back there, and I guess we'll just run this set of tires, I think, until the fronts are wore down to where they need to be replaced. And at that point, I'm gonna hopefully by then have 3 more new rims, because I have 1 already, and new old stock or like remanufactured or whatever. Because I think I'm gonna keep these same ones, even though I had those like gold Chrysler ones. I think I'm gonna keep these.
So I have found the solution to our shaking problem. The full-size spare that we have underneath the van, or did. It is a 205 70R15. It is a Walmart special, Douglas all season, just the same as those 4 are. This one's actually a little newer, 35th week of 21. I picked those up at U-Pole. I picked 2 of those up. And I think one is under string bean, and the other I put under this. And this right rear tire right here is our problemo. Actually verified that. I had Dad tail me. We were on a road here, and I had him right alongside me and watch this tire bounce. Because this is the one that was up front, so we had to shake up front. When we put it back here, it went away. That's why I put it in the rear. When I bought this van, that tire was up front, and I noticed it, so when I rotated them, the issue went away. But yeah, we're gonna put the spare on here, confirm that claim of the shake going away.
That's crazy. Yeah, that tire's junk. This thing is, I was saying it was good before, it's good now. That's crazy.
I do believe we have found a compounding issue. So sometimes I would notice that the front wheels would shake slightly when I would brake. So I had this tire off when I was rotating them, because I got that one put back on. That's the old front one. And yeah, they're warm. Brakes were hot. So some guy, when he replaced these, didn't put grease on the slide pin, you know, like you're supposed to. So anyway, I got them off here, and I'm kind of cleaning out the bores here where this rubber sits, because it'll rust jack and tighten it up. As you can see, that's exactly what it's done. And so now when I put these back in, I'll put a thin gob of grease in there so it doesn't re-rust. But I got this little guy here, and I just curve them in there and just slide it in and out. Get these cleaned up, put those on, grease them like they're supposed to be greased. And then maybe the brakes don't get hot and don't cause a vibration as well. That certainly does not help. So we'll do it on both sides. It's a miracle when you add grease. It moves so much better. Amazing. Yep, I can show you what I'm talking about here. Remember how easy that slid? Look at this. They move. They're free. But oh boy, did they move slow. I'm putting a lot of effort into that. Bottom one, same way. They're froze, so I'll lube them up just the same. Get them back on, call it good.
All right, we're cruising. This thing's riding good. I got cruise control on, and we're cruising down the highway. You know, I got, you know, one finger on the wheel here, and it drives smooth as can be on this rough highway.
All right, so we are working on getting them cleaned up. This rim and these two cleaned up real well. Definitely had some curb rash. You can't tell very well, but I took a white paint pen and I kind of filled it, so they look a lot better. This one right here is that one, I think it was right front. It looks like it had a stuck brake or, you know, whatever. It had brake issues, so it had a lot of brake dust. Kind of been working on it, cleaning it. So I got all the loose stuff off. I've been using Super Clean. That seems to work. I have an old bottle like tire cleaner, but it doesn't work very well anymore. I'm honestly just going to throw it. But I've been using a steel wool or whatever you want to call it, Brillo pad with the Super Clean, and it's coming clean. It's getting pretty close, as good as it's going to be. So we're going to get the other tires mounted on, and in between I'm going to come back here, scrub it, respray it, come back, do the same thing. But we're going to get them mounted on Gray Van right now, and then we'll take it for a road test. Well, yeah, that looks pretty slick. I'm telling you, we get the white pinstripe down the center of that black molding, it'll look really good. But I think those look good. Here's the one I was fighting to get cleaned up. It turned out pretty good. Alright, well, I'll take it for a test drive. Cross our fingers the shake disappears, and that'll be that. Good news, we're about to roll 172,000. I'll let you watch that while I talk. The shake's about the same with this new set as it was with that mismatch set I had, so what that kind of tells me is either these wheels and tires are equally bad, which is kind of getting unlikely at this point, but that we fixed the tire bouncing issue because it didn't get any worse or any better, and that we do still have something else at play here. And I'm starting to lean towards those rear wheel bearings. They still feel loose. I torqued them to spec, backed them off based on the service manual and everything, what they said. I'm gonna try tighten them up a little tighter, and hey, look at that 172. It definitely is better on this set of tires. It's definitely better. So what I've figured out driving, 42 miles here, is that it's an intermittent shake at 60. Only at 60, and it's intermittent, which tells me it's not a tire, and I don't hear a tire bounce. I think it's almost brake related. Because if, let's say I got the gas down, I tap the brakes, you kind of feel the shake in the wheel a little bit, and sometimes you feel it in the brakes when you just brake, like it's got a warped rotor or whatever, or a drum, but it's intermittent. So maybe I've got an intermittently hanging brake wheel cylinder caliper or something. I don't quite know. I'm just gonna kind of drive it for a while. It's definitely better. At speed, it's perfect. 70 miles an hour, this thing is, you know, dead straight, you know, no vibrations, nothing. We're gonna try lay that pinstriping out today. And we're gonna lay it just like they do at the factory, right in the center of that black trim molding right there. Also notice that passenger door ain't sitting right. We're gonna ignore that. But yeah, we're gonna lay the pinstriping on there. So what I'm gonna do is I got a rag, or a roll of rags. I got some wax and grease remover. And we're gonna use that, and we're just gonna scrub the inside of that crevice there. And then we'll just lay it in sections, naturally. I'll start with a small section. Here's my test piece. And I'll get a razor blade out here. That's what I'll use to cut the pinstriping. But I think it'll really match these rims. I really actually like these. I was kind of skeptical at first, but it's growing on me, and I think with the pinstriping it'll be perfect. But after driving it a couple days, what I've come to think is that this passenger CV that we replaced a couple of years ago now, when we first bought the car, because the other one had a ripped boot, that it has gone bad. And I think that it has gone bad because our motor mounts are bad. And I think the motor mount thing is that weird vibration that I feel when it goes over bumps and stuff naturally. We replaced this trans mount with a used one at the yard that was good, so I'm not worried about that one. But we got to do the front one and the, well, front of the vehicle and front of the engine. Well, I'll tell you right now, the pinstriping is too thin for that gap, but it's fine. I'm not going to worry about it right now. There's our first bit of pinstriping right there. And I also got that front piece because I had some extra. I do think it looks pretty good. It's hard to tell in the sunlight, but I do think it looks good. So I'll continue to work my way around here, get it all done, and then I'll bring you back when it's done. Yeah, I think that's a good choice right there. That looks real good. Alright, well that's the whole passenger side done. And for the first time ever laying pinstripe, I would say that's pretty good. Especially since I got the wrong size, but yeah, it's not bad, not perfect, but hey, for the van it looks pretty dang slick. Alright, with this side in the shade, you can tell it looks so much nicer. Look at that, look at that line. If there was any piece of advice I'd have to give to somebody putting pinstriping on, don't do it in the sun when it's 100 degrees out. You could tell that it liked to want to stretch, so when you would pull it out to kind of make sure you lined it up straight, it would want to stretch, and it made it much harder. And also the adhesive stayed adhesive-y, I guess, or kind of liquid, I would say. So it was hard to keep it stuck down when you cut it. But it looks really good. Now we just got the front bumper left to do, and that'd be it. So now we got a white hatch with the white pinstriping to tie it in to the white rims. Actually looks pretty darn good, I would say. So this is the roll I used to do the van, and this is how much I had left over, which is 10-15 foot, so that's all you need to do the whole van. But I'll show you how it turned out. So as you can see, I'm showing you this. Front bumper is what I did last. Turned out fantastic. There you have it. One little divot there I can tell easily. But if that's the worst, we did pretty good. So there's the pinstriping finally added. I've been meaning to do that for a while, even before I even thought of the white rims. I'd been wanting to put white pinstriping on it, so there, it's on there now, and it matches the rims perfectly. Well, now that we did the 90 last night, I got the ambition I'll do the 93 now, because this one's significantly worse than the 90s was. But I think this one's been replaced before. I think that's an aftermarket gasket on this hatch that was repainted on another van, because we got this hatch from the U-Pull. But if anybody's got any ideas for that, oh yeah, that one turned out pretty good too. Had to lube this one up too. It took a little more moving and tucking it in, but it's in there. Got it in there, no problem. Like I said, anybody's got any ideas for that, I'm all ears. Well, I did come up with something. Roll of cheap Harbor Freight E-tape. Just wrap that around there until it's in there good. So, hey, that's better than it ever was. Alright, we're back on the 93 today. And we've got this seat. And we've got this seat I pulled like a year ago. Obviously this one's in better shape as far as the cushion goes. At one point my cats had started to get mad at it before I covered it up, so there's a few little cat nicks in there. We're gonna ignore those, but that's not that bad. That looks a lot better. And while we're in there, when I had these seats out to do the interior, I forgot to hook this back up, and I always have been using there's a backup fuel door opener under the floor mat here in the trunk. So I've been using that and just kind of getting by for the last 2 years. But we're gonna take that seat out, clean this seat up, and then we'll put that seat in here. And then hopefully the power motor and stuff works. I'll have to test that before I bolt it down. So that's a power seat too, it's the same seat and everything. Out of a 93 as well. But yeah, we'll save this for a rainy day for now, especially the power seat stuff if it all works. But it should be pretty easy. I'm just gonna get under here and whiz out the four bolts. This van's not rusty, as you can see, not very anyway. There's one hole back there. That's the rust. But the underside of this fan is in great shape, so it should come out real easy. Especially they've been out before, and I fluid filmed the bolts. All right. Alright, as you can see, got the seat out real quick. And this is probably why I forgot, because I buried it under the carpet. So, I gotta try dig it out of here. I think I can feel it. No? Is that the wiring? Anyway, it's up under here somewhere, and I'm gonna have to find it and get it back out from under there. And I'll do that. But, here's two seats side by side. Obviously they're the same. Besides, this one doesn't have a hole in it right there. I think the van that this came out of had 153,000 on it or so. It was something close to that. It was 150 something. So I'll have to vacuum it real good, kind of brush it. There's no big stain, so I don't know that I'll need to extract it at all. Just a good cleaning, scrubbing, maybe a surface scrub with a damp rag. But that should be it. Otherwise, they are the same. Maybe swap the trim panels because mine is nicer. See that? That trim panel is kind of looking. But we'll see how it cleans up first. Okay, so I vacuumed up the seats, kind of scrubbed it down a little bit. What I've decided is that I think my seat is overall in better condition, but this cushion's better. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of combine the two and make the nicest seat. So we're going to take this cushion, put it there. This belt buckle is nicer than mine, so we'll put the belt buckle there. I think that's it. This panel on this seat is nicer than the panel on mine, which is cracked right here. So we'll swap that over too. Yeah. So we'll kind of just combine them a little bit. I still want to scrub this seat cushion down just a little bit. But yeah, see, mine doesn't have any cat damage to it or anything, and this trim's nicer, and this guy isn't as sun-faded as on this one. For some reason, this is like bleached white. I don't know why. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll do that real quick. I'll put you on the stand. this in, guys and gals, I suppose. Looks pretty good. It's a lot nicer. Well, I guess it's the same seat, but here's the big thing right here. Oh, that's gonna be so nice. That hasn't really worked since I've owned the van because I didn't drive it until I had the interior ripped apart. So 2 years of, what, 22, 23, almost 3 years of doing that, I think. No, 2, I don't know, 2.5. We'll go with 2.5. So that's cool. That's a huge upgrade. All right, so while we're doing upgrades and stuff for things that I've bought over a year ago, see our nice wheel here? It's a little wore out. I mean, it's got 170,000 miles on it now. Bam. Let there be a wheel that's only got 111,000. So it's a lot nicer shape than mine. I just finished kind of scrubbing it up, cleaning it up. I also scrubbed this one up just to make sure it wasn't wasting my time here. And that one's definitely more wore. Not like throwaway wore. I'll keep this off to the side for now. It doesn't take up much space. I mean, I'll just put it where this one was. But we got to pull that airbag off. And then we'll just pull this steering wheel quick and we'll swap them over. I do think something happened to this cover here. I don't know if it's what, but it showed up when I started cleaning it. Kind of spotty. I don't know if I used super clean. I guess super clean maybe not good on that plastic. I don't know. I didn't do it on that just in case. We'll probably swap the back covers too, which is just four Phillips screws. Look at that. That's nice. Cleaned up real nice. Was able to get into some of those crevices and clean up a little extra. Wipe down the dash and everything too. Nice, very nice. That other wheel must have not had cruise on it because it wasn't on the wheel. That or I pulled it off for some reason, but it wasn't there. Anyway, yeah, that looks good. Nice little upgrade. 2 nice little upgrades. Okay, so I wasn't planning on showing too much of this, but I'm working on those wheel bearings again. I've got the driver rear off, as you can see. Here's all of our splatter, and at the very end it started growling and getting pretty bad there on that trip. I should not have taken it on that. I think the bearings would have survived if I did not. The inner bearings? Inner bearings, fine. Still greasing them. No scoring or anything, no heat marks. They feel fine. The inner race looks good. And the outer here, as you can see, I've already got the race out. Yeah, cooked big time. Lots of metal, lots of pitting. These guys were metal on metal. And if you look how dark that is. It got hot. Yep, the outers are cooked. What sucks is it's the outers I couldn't get one of them of. So I'm going to see, because I saved all the old bearings that were good. They probably just needed repacked. We're going to go through those, and we're going to see if we can find a Timken. That way we can keep them all Timken. That doesn't matter, no. But we'll see what I can find down there out of the pile of ones I kept. See if I can find the nicest looking one. Pound that race back into that one, or the race that I kept off the other one, and repack these. I got to soak this bearing here, get all the old grease out. Got to get all the old grease out of here. And then we'll put the correct grease, I guess, which is clearly not this wheel bearing grease I used. And we'll repack everything, put it back together. Well, it's all done right now. I didn't really show you much, but I was kind of just plugging away. Got them packed with some moly grease. I got to use my 12-ton Harbor Freight press for the first time to press the new races in. I don't have the exact size for that race, but I had one close enough. But also, I got this a long time ago, and I finally put it on. It's a little rubber pad for that jack, so I don't scrape paint and stuff off. But hey, they're both back on. This one kind of feels like I can wobble it just a hair. We'll see. I want to drive it, see if grease spills out, and then I want to retorque them, and then we'll go from there. But hey, they shouldn't make any growling noises anymore, and in theory, they have good grease. I don't know. Bearing on, tire on. I'm gonna drive it now, see how she feels, and we'll go from there. Well, look at that, made it around. Temps seem fine. That wheel's tight. This wheel just had a little bit of a wobble, so I snugged it up just a hair. No longer wobbles. They didn't seem hot. I'll keep an eye on them, but hey, most importantly, they're not spraying grease everywhere. So yeah, don't use that grease I used, is what I'm gonna say. And I'll definitely note it in the video when I do them the first time. Don't do what I did. So that means I gotta do Blue Van's again. But Blue Van's bearings should be fine. They're not cooked. But just need to get all that old grease out and pack them with this stuff. So I'll need to buy another tub of that. I got some left, but not that much. What I am gonna do is, before I put that spare in, I'm gonna put this new hood heat insulator thing on. You'll see mine is all tore up and stuff, and this one, you know, isn't. Mostly because it's been in the back of the van and I need it out of the way. But the way to do this, because these clips kind of, you know, suck. But the way you want to do it is get in here, and there's a tab you push to pop them. But obviously you got the liner around the whole thing, so you can't really do that. But hey, guess what? This liner's getting thrown away. I'd like to save it. I mean, it's junk. Look at it. But I'll see if I can save on it. But I need to save these clips because I don't have any more, and they, you know, kind of proprietary to it, to a point anyway. That's all I've got, so I'm gonna try to save these clips. But you go in here with the screwdriver and you pop the one tab and it comes out. Like I said, you can't get at the center ones really, and I don't want to break them. So yeah, we'll pop that off quick and put that one on. That's a little nicer looking. Like I said, it's no longer in my storage. So they worked all right. I was able to get some of the outside ones, so I guess I didn't even show you. But center ones, if you wiggle them one direction, you can kind of slip it out and pop it out without breaking that plastic piece off. But yeah, so that's that. I think while I'm in here, I just had this battery out, so I want to tighten this back down. As you can see, I just have it sitting on top, so I gotta get in here, unbolt that, and put it back in, lock that in, and then boom, done under here. Got that all done. Okay, so when I first bought this van, the rear wiper would consistently blow the fuses, and it is number 13. Anyway, I had the fuse out because, you know, why bother having a blown fuse in there? Anyway, I replaced that hatch when I broke the rear window out of it, and I tried it again, and I remember it blowing fuses still. I swear. And this is a couple years ago now. So I was gonna try mess with it. I was gonna see what it would do right now, and then probably get a multimeter on and start digging in the wiring and rerun wires or whatever. But I put a 20 amp fuse in it, and that's the washer. So the washer fluid's probably empty, but and then there's wiper on. And it's intermittent, so you just wait. It works fine now. Bro. Okay, problem solved. I think I need to put a new wiper on it. This wiper's, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what it does when I get some fluid in there. But let me get some fluid in there. I think this is routed wrong too, right here. This hose, it should go around this. So I'm gonna fix that so it doesn't get caught. Yeah, I believe it goes just like that. Anyway, I got some mix here. Hopefully that the seals are good in this, because I know they could be bad. No, it's full. So I can imagine right now that seal is leaking down on the filler neck, and this is gonna get wet. You can see it seeping right now. Great. Oh, maybe it's holding. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. But it's full, and the sprayer doesn't work. Why sprayer no work? Well, I got it out. Seal was fine. It just wasn't full. That motor wouldn't work. I blew through the lines. They're clear. I took the motor, plugged it into my jump box. Motor works fine. So it's something electrical still. Nope, back in gray van here. So I grabbed a different switch here, and it does the same thing as that switch. So they behave the same. So what now? I will do some research and I will see if I figure anything out. Okay, well I figured out why the bulb didn't work for the little power light. So let's turn the dimmers up. Okay, got them turned up. You see a little glowy light right there. So that bulb is for the dimmers for right there. And then look right here, see that bulb right there? There wasn't a bulb in that one. That is the bulb for the button. Apparently that's optional. I had a 94, 95 style one and I stole a bulb out to throw it in there, and that was the problem with that, is there was no bulb in it. So, oh, and how to get those out is take a little flathead driver and you just turn it and then kind of knock the bulb out, and then you tap the bulb in and use a driver to turn it back in. But now we've got bulbs in both slots and we've solved that problem. Still don't know why the washer doesn't work. Not quite sure there. But hey, we fixed one problem. At least that lights up now. Like, see how these all light up? That's weird that it didn't have a bulb in it. I don't know. It just didn't. So now it does. And both switches were that way. I had to go rob a bulb out of the 94, 95 switch to place one in there. But yeah. What I should have done while I was in there is replace that bulb. Okay, so what I'm seeing is we're seeing 12 volts by default coming off that hot. So it's always hot. And what I just did, maybe I can kind of show you here. I got my little jumper wire here. Let us take, we'll just go with black for ground, because why not? We're going to stick it in the ground pin. Okay, got that? And we're going to take the other side of this black wire. Guess what? This works. And this works whether the switch is on or off. So, what the switch is doing is providing a ground circuit and providing a ground and completing the circuit. So, for some reason, our ground cable going back is not working. Okay, so yeah, this guy is stuck on. I'm gonna go off on a limb and say all of those corroded traces, like all of the traces are green and bubbled, are causing something to go AWOL, or haywire, or whatever you want to call it. My thought is, why don't we just take, here's our bad guy right here. Just take one of these guys right here, that's good. We'll pop him off the board, and we will try and put him on this board. Now, I don't know how well it'll go because the traces on here are pretty damaged. But if we can get it to solder to it, we might be okay. I'm gonna try it anyway. Worth a shot, right? I bet you if I plug this thing in right now, it'll work. Everything will work but the washer, which tells me this guy is the little washer chip relay resistor thing. Okay, so I soldered a new one on. There isn't much left of that top left trace, so we'll see if that worked or not. I might have to scrape off part of that trace there and kind of solder to it a little better, but I'm going to plug it in and we're going to find out. I did test it with that chip out. Everything worked just the same, but the washer sprayer. So, we'll see. Okay, it's plugged in. Turn it on. I think it might have been working. Let me tape that down. I'm pretty sure I heard it. Ow, I just stepped on something in my foot. Ow. Ow, 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 ow. I don't know what I just stabbed my foot with, but I'm thinking it wasn't good. Something just went through my shoe. That's why you wear Crocs. Ooh. Oh, you guys caught that live. Well, that didn't work. I haven't replaced this guy, the little fuse thing below it, because it was kind of suspect too. But nope, still doesn't work. So I think we're just gonna have to try find one of these. Great. I'm gonna do the actual testing now. I'll test the thing, and maybe we did fix this, but maybe there's another problem. You never know. Maybe there's a reason that last one burned up. Okay, so I did some testing. A, pin 1, test for battery voltage to wiper motor with ignition switch on and rear switch on. Tested good. Had battery voltage. Pin 2, test for battery voltage with the ignition on. Had voltage. Pin 3, test for continuity to ground. Had continuity to ground. Pin 4, test ignition switch on, rear washer on, test for battery voltage. Had none. Pin 5, ignition switch on, wiper switch on, test for ground. Had continuity. Pin 6, ignition switch on, washer switch on, test for continuity to ground. Had continuity. Pin 4 had no voltage, so no battery voltage on pin 4. Which means we're not getting voltage to our washer switch. But we're not getting voltage because something isn't grounding out. Because when you press it, it creates a ground circuit. Okay, it might have taken me a lot longer than it should have. But for learning how to diagnose not working electronics, I have figured it out. See this beautiful jumper wire? So I will demonstrate my work first. We get the dashboard. Also, I fixed that bulb there. I replaced him. So that's cool. He's kind of a special bulb. He's on a little harness because it's attached to the shift. What do you want to call it? PRNDL icon thing. Right, so we're going to tape this down. You might be able to hear it already. Guys are running away when we press the button. Don't want to burn that poor pump up. And then it shuts off. Then the wipers go for a little longer, and then it shuts off. So, I finally found a diagram, and I've been through this book for a little while, and I went through the diagnosis like we did, and we verified we didn't have 12 volts on, not this one, but the other board up there that we repaired. So I guess our repair was good. We didn't have 12 volts going to the wiper washer, and the reason we didn't have 12 volts is because we didn't have a ground signal. This thing right here provides ground signal, so it gets all of its little information from that switch up there. And this controller provides a ground for this guy right here. It turns on a ground, I don't know, in this chip or who knows what, I don't know. But then it shoots that ground, which is this cable right here, this black white, is the ground for the motor. And I took a multimeter, and after I figured that out right here, if you look, V20 black white, pin number 4, washer motor ground, off of the rear wash liftgate module, and it goes up here, goes out to that little switch right there, and then it goes back to here with liftgate, washer, motor, boom. And I had no continuity, so I'm like, well, there it is. I thought I tested continuity from here to here, and I thought it was good. And then I didn't test from there to there, but I tested from here to there, and it was no good. So I just ran this jumper wire, flip the switch on, and boom, it works. So I'm going to test continuity from here to here, and then here to here, and we'll verify which section of cable is bad so we know where to splice. Okay, so I got the wire spliced in. I got to finish cleaning up down here and wrapping it in friction tape, but it's close enough right now to verify the work. We spliced right here after verifying that we had continuity to here, and we used one of those little heat shrink solder connectors, and then we ran the cable because the actual cable goes, you know, obviously down here all the way across, down the B pillar, and all the way back. we weren't going to mess with this headliner. I popped this down and I kind of pried on it. It's already shot. I got a new piece here that we will, I mean this piece, I didn't really ruin it anyway, but it needs redone anyway. So I popped the 2 clips, popped it down so I could get in here. Did that, ran our cable up through here. It's just kind of in here, but it should be okay. I think I want to wrap it to that harness there, so I'll put a piece of tape to hold it down to that. Then it comes into here, and I clean this surface up, and I use some double-sided tape to stick it all the way down this panel. And then once we split the panel, did the same thing here and stuck it all the way down, and we wrapped it here, then we soldered it here, and then I'm gonna tape it onto the harness here. Here's the old cable, we'll just leave him in there. He's disconnected on both sides, but got the washer reservoir in right now, and we might as well fill her up and figure out, make sure that doesn't leak. So these motors have a little piece on the inside of filter that you thread on, and I figured that out after I unthreaded it, and then it just fell loose inside there. So I was able to shake this thing up and get it balanced directly over the hole, and just very lightly thread that on until it pulled tight, and then I, tensioned it and threaded it in. So it's in there. That was a little trick to that, but I got it. So we'll fill this thing up. We'll make sure that it doesn't leak. Find the mud colored washer fluid. It's a mix of orange and green, or orange and blue. Oh, I guess it's got a... Oh, you know why that does that? So, there's their leak protection. So it's got a little nozzle that goes down to here. And so then it kind of stops itself because it can't let the air out. But it's going to slowly bleed off, I'm pretty sure. Or it won't, and that's it. But that'll keep you from overfilling it. And it doesn't leak. So, we're going to shut the hatch. That board's hooked up right now. Everything should be okay. And I'm going to put you on the tripod. You get, front row seating here. And I'm going to go trigger it. And right now, I believe the wiper's going to cycle because it's stopped right where it's at right now. Because I just turned the key off. And I'm going to cycle it. We're going to see if it works. It works. A little messy, but it works. Look at that. That's going to be very nice considering I live on a gravel road. Always end up with dust on the back of this thing. That wiper actually seems to kind of be okay. As old as it probably is. I'm sure I replaced it, but I probably didn't put a new one on it because it didn't work. But look at that. Darn thing works. Alright, got it all back together. As you can see, our PRNDL indicator is lit up again. I made a mistake and I reset the mileage on the trip odometer, so I need to put a sticky here to tell me to reset it again when it should be at 0, because that's how I keep track of when I roll 1,000 miles over since I've owned it, or whatever, 20,000. We're at 18 something, or we'll be at 18,000 here in like 200 miles. 173,327 is when that should be 0. So I'll have to just keep a reminder for myself. But guess what? It's all done. Fan is back together. Let's hit that. Look at that. And it works. That's crazy. And then the intermittent works. So as you can see, it lights up too. We added the bulb for that. Alright, so I think I'm finally going to tackle waxing this thing that I've been putting off for more than a year or two, which is very bad. Don't do that. Don't be mean. Here, I'll give you a quick walk around. You'll have to see it in the light because I was racing against dark and stuff, but it initially looking at it looks pretty good. Those are water spots as the dew's starting to form on it. I'll probably have to go in and clean the glass tomorrow. I scrubbed what I could, but I'll have to actually be clean. But it looks pretty good from here. It's definitely smooth as can be running a rag across. There's a couple spots that need polished, like that scrape right there, that vertical one. There's one on the driver door too. There's a couple other small spots. Yeah, there's a scratch right there. The hood's all rock chipped to hell, but that's fine. Yeah, that scrape right there. That one's through the paint, not even worth touching. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. White you can't really tell because it's white, but you can kind of tell it's shiny. But I think it's going to look pretty good, but yeah, that's pretty bad. That one's through the paint, but that top part there can be buffed out, I think, and right there maybe. You see it on the black, but at least we're protecting it. I even got the roof done, but the roof kind of mixed with the dew, so I don't know how that'll turn out. I'll probably have to hit it with a rag tomorrow, but yeah, it might have been okay because the dew is on it now, but we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. But there, it's nice to finally have that done. Makes me feel better anyway. So, pretty good. Alright, well here's your daytime view. It's not going to be very good because it's covered in a very fine layer of dust. But what you notice when a car is properly waxed, and I know this living on gravel roads, the dust settles like in fine grains because it won't stick to it. As you can see, it's still kind of gray. You can't really tell, but it changes the color of it. But if you look, you can see the fine dust compared to no dust, I guess. I don't know. Maybe you can't even tell. But it's definitely shiny, and then part of it is stuff like this that happens, you know, the morning after. Huge bug. It was a huge bug. But, no, it looks good. Looks really good. Okay, so we're firing the parts can in a gray van here again. This time we're doing this passenger CV axle that is actually new. I put this in when I did these wheel bearings back in 2022, actually. And we still got a shake in it, and I mean, we've replaced everything. So, the only thing that hasn't been replaced this round is this new CV axle. Same little shake. I'm thinking it's gotta be this guy, right? Well, I thought I had one in a box. Turns out I only have the driver's side in a box, so now I gotta go find one of these now that I've literally got it apart right now, so great. That's how that usually goes. Got a pan there ready to catch the fluid, but we'll try to be quick. We'll pull it out, smack the other one in, that way we don't lose all that much fluid, but whatever, it is what it is. Alright, well, we're just leaving O'Reilly here in Burnsville. Got the new CV axle for gray van. Driving Eggplant here right now. Still got Eggplant currently for sale, but it's got 172, 242 on it. And hopefully that works. I think it was 98 bucks for the precision axle. They had it in stock, so that was cool. Granted, I had to drive to go get it, but you know, that's how that goes. But I think the difference in price, so Rock Auto had it listed for $50, but it was $30 shipping. So the difference is pretty negligible, and now I've got it same day. Granted, what I do is I order FVP stuff. FVP is a pretty good brand, and they're located in Eden Prairie. So I usually get that stuff next day when I order it. But if I'd have known, I would have ordered it yesterday. But you know how that goes. Okay, so doing it that way, I wouldn't exactly recommend it. And I wouldn't try it unless you know what you're doing and you have the strength to manhandle this thing. So using the jack, I was able to, so I jacked the hub back up. Make sure you're putting weight on the backing plate and not so much the hub here, because you don't want to have a chance of hurting that wheel bearing. But got the axle in, got it jacked up here, got it above. So before I jacked it up, pushed it all the way in to this side, at least for me, and then jacked it up so it was above the ball joint. And then I kind of had to use this and rotate it on the wheels to kind of get it where I wanted it, and then slowly set it down until it popped in. I did some fighting, but I got it in, got the bolt set in there. I'm going to tighten the bolt up before I release tension, and then we'll tighten the axle nut, get the brakes on, And hopefully that's it. Something doesn't quite feel right in this axle end. Something feels not right. So we're hoping that that is the issue. Also, I spilt a can of pop here manhandling that, naturally. But yeah, new axle's in, Bagley. I think I lost a little bit of trans fluid, not too much. Maybe quarter quart, I'll have to measure it. Alright, it's all back together. Gotta move eggplant, change out of these dirty clothes, and we'll take it for a test drive. I added quarter quart of trans fluid, that's all it leaked out. And I sure hope that's it. I'm so sick of dealing with this. Everything's new. I don't know what else it could be. Okay, I'm not giving up yet. So the only shake left in it is a shake at about 60 under load. Under load meaning engine and transmission at RPM, which motor mounts, trans mounts, that sort of stuff, which could lead to bad CV axles, which is why we replaced the 2 axles. Well, that one and the shake got a lot better. That one didn't seem to affect anything, but it got replaced originally. I can't remember why. Possibly for a shake too. You know what I mean? It's possible that's what I replaced it for. I don't remember, to be honest with you. These motor mounts, this one's pretty well shot. I mean, it's cracked pretty bad. So we're gonna replace it, and we're gonna replace this one. I don't remember what this one looks like. Really, this one don't look bad. The trans mount I've had out because the bosses on the trans are broke. Whoever put this trans in, actually I know who put it in, Kennedy Transmission did this in 07. I think in Shakopee, Eden Prairie, whatever. I have the receipts for it that came with the vehicle. They broke the bosses, so I've kind of got it cobbled together, and I had the mount out to do that, and I had to get a different mount because the bolts were broken and loose, and it wallered out the holes in the original mount. So I had to get a whole new metal bracket, and I used the mount from the junkyard because I thought it seemed good. So maybe we just start with this one, take it for a test drive, and then we'll move on to the other 2 if it comes down to it. I have some new mounts that I bought for Blue Van that I haven't put in yet because, well, we haven't got that far yet. So I'll rob Peter to pay Paul, and then I promise I'll pay Peter back. By that I mean I'm going to go order another set of mounts tonight. They're the same mounts between the first and the second gens. Same fuel filters, all that good stuff too. So we're going to order another set of those mounts tonight. But we'll use them for this. Even if I don't use them all, I'm going to order a whole new set. I'll have 2 on hand for whatever we end up. I'll use them eventually. But that one's the most suspect one. And he's the easiest one to do because I don't have to replace. It has a whole bracket with the bushing, whereas the other 2 are bushing only, and you have to knock the old bushing out and push the new one in and then bend the tabs over. This one's just a bolt-on sort of deal. Okay, new motor mounts in. It be there. Initially it sat taller where the actual through bolt goes than the old one, but that's because the other one is settled. That one settled down as soon as I'd let the jack off, and then I tightened that up last, got those lined up about where it was. We'll take it for a drive. I took the zip tie off for no reason. I was able to get the mount out of there without, pulling the bracket apart. But we'll take it for a test drive. That was it. You tell me, that motor mount seems okay to me. A little pliable maybe, but that was it. The shake is significantly not present anymore. I want to take it for another drive to see if that was a fluke, but I'll do that after I do the second mount. But apparently that's bad, allegedly. I don't know, maybe it was set wrong. I have no idea. That seems fine. But sure as heck. I mean, it's the only thing I could see is it's rubbing on the bottom part of the mount, but that's normal, I think, right? I don't know. That one was a little bugger to get out. See, I would think that this motor mount is worse than the other one. It's tore in a couple spots, actually. So it's still holding on, but it's tore pretty bad right there. And then it's tore pretty bad right Where's the other tear? It's up in one of the top ones. I think it's, yeah, right up here. This is tore up there. I would say that this mount is worse than that one was, but that one seemed to make a lot of difference. So maybe we'll just get super lucky and that'll be that. Well, there it is. I don't know if it's supposed to be cracked there or not. I'm assuming not. But it's sat like that. And it's tore there. And then it's pretty cracked up. And then it's tore back there. And then it might be broke right there is what it looks like. So I don't know what that caused. Nope, it's supposed to be like that. Based on this one. So we're gonna, you know, do the thing and put it back in. Second motor mount is in and tightened up. Let's go for a ride. Yep, that was it. The motor mounts were it. I kind of want to do that trans one just to have them all done. But yeah, that was it. So I bet you the motor sits funny under low, which causes a CV axle to bind, which causes that shake, it'd be my guess. And then when it bounces, you feel it because the motor moves. Right about there is where it would start to shake. And it's gone. There's nope, no shake. Yep. Nice. Motor mounts. Well, that's cool. So that is all fixed. I'm gonna see about doing that trans mount, but no promises. Maybe I've shown this before, but this is what I'm talking about. See, 2 of the 3 bolts that bolt into the transmission are not factory. And if you look, if I can get you up here, right there, you can see they're through bolted and nutted. And that's because they broke off the standoffs and ruined the threads on 2 of the 3 bolts. And it was like that when I got it. In fact, it was so bad that this hole and this hole, the 2 here, on the old mount were wallered out like this far, like the bolt was resting up against this thing because it had vibrated a groove in it. So we got it to where it works. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the top bolt out, lower the transmission down, get those 3 out, and we should be able to finagle the mount out of there. Should be able to get those bolts back out. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. We're gonna try anyway. Here's a good look at what I'm talking about. So this was like this when I got a hold of it. So was this one, except we just lost another piece behind here. And that one, hopefully I'll try to find a tap of that size, and I'll re-thread that, and then we're gonna put a longer bolt in because that's what was in it. And we're gonna, so at least we'll have one good bolt again. And then this bracket up here is loose. I've seen that before. See up there? Nope, you can't see when you do that. Right there, that bolt's loose. I didn't do that, so they did that. And then they never reattached the wire harness to the trans. Just quality, fine workmanship going on here. Anyway, yep. So here's our mount right here. And it's an OEM mount. I believe it's got I got a bee bothering me. Go away, bee. It's got a Pentastar on it. It's not blown, but right here, this one is well on its way. It's broke right there and it's tearing. So we'll replace that. And then we'll put it back up and hopefully we can cobble it back together. I might need to get different new hardware here because all this hardware is bent and rusty and it needs to go in as easy as possible. Yes, stack of washers, the mark of a quality job. So I had one M10 by 125 thread bolt that was long enough and it was too long, so we added some washers. I got the other 2 back in. We're gonna pretend they're doing something. I think I'm gonna cut and flip you and I'll show you how it looks. All right, it's in and it's holding, so we'll just have to keep an eye on it as we were before, but hopefully that holds on, and that's all there is to it. So cool, very good. I'll get a tire on it, get everything cleaned up here, and oh, I gotta put the dust shield on it, and we'll take it for a final test drive, and hopefully it's as smooth as it's ever been.
All 3 mounts done. This thing is smooth as butter. It's fantastic. Glad we finally got her figured out for real. Okay, so I'm driving to work now. It is night and day difference. You know, it should have clued me in is the fact that it vibrated when it bounced, but also under acceleration, under load. Those are the 2 clues that should have told me. And I mean, it kind of did to the point where I've got nothing else to do, let's do them, but I should have done them before. Especially so that vibration when it would bounce, that's always been there. But I know we did fix some other shakes and stuff with some of the other stuff we replaced, like the CV axles, and I suppose those worn motor mounts, you know, ruin the CV axles. But yeah, it should have, the vibration when you bounce, that should have clued me in a long time ago. And the shake under load that remained after we fixed the other shake should have clued me into motor mounts. But hey, no harm, no foul. It's got all kinds of new parts in it, and this thing should be good to go till 200,000, I sure hope, at least, without having to touch anything, except maybe this transmission if we get to it. But this one's still going, as you can see. But yeah, the shake over the bounces, or the shake over bumps, is gone. Wheel shake is completely gone. Yeah, this thing rides nice now, like really nice.
Well, I just finished putting a radiator in my truck, which I didn't film or anything. That was just me getting something done. Well, originally I went in to do the oil cooler lines that were leaking, and then the fittings were stripped on the radiator, so I had to do a radiator. Anyway, I was in the mood for coolant stuff, and I'm getting pretty sick and tired of not having heat in Gray Van. I've never had heat in Gray Van. So I'm kind of doing some diagnosis. So first thing we did is check. Right now I pulled this guy off, made sure he operated. He does operate on vacuum. I need to verify that the vacuum coming from there is good, which we will verify next when we put it back together. But I also went and I flushed the heater core. So I pulled the lines off, and I made sure they're hooked up right, or at least I know how they go. The line that goes down off of the heater line in front, the bottom one, goes on the right side, and then the one with the valve goes on the left side. Your valve sits like this on the left side. Anyway, what I did is I took 2 heater lines and I stuck one in a bucket, and then I took the garden hose and full pressure blasted through the other side. You know, blasted out one side, went the other way, blasted out both sides, and hopefully that helped if that was the issue. Otherwise, the heater core seems to be good. You can flow through it. It's not clogged or anything. This guy is working, so as long as we're getting vacuum, we'll have to check and make sure the controls are shutting the blend doors to like the AC system or whatever. Otherwise, maybe the heater core internally is just flowing too fast or something. Or we have a blockage before that, but I don't think we do because we had coolant on both sides. So you would think you wouldn't, but what do I know? I guess I could try blow through the lines hooked to the system, like just with my mouth, and see if they bubble anywhere. If they bubble, that means they're not, you know, plugged. So we'll try that.
All right, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I did not think that was gonna work. Guess who's got heat right now for the first time since I've owned this van? Me. It's not hot like it should be, or like some of the other vans. It's getting better, to be honest. I'm kind of driving it here. I want to make sure it gets hot, but it's pretty warm. I'm gonna say that's hot. It's not like cooking hot, but it's like hot. So I guess thank y'all for watching. our little summer upkeep on Gray Van. Gray Van's been a great daily, and now that we've got the shake figured out with the motor mounts and stuff, the only thing really left that needs fixing on this, now that we just fixed the heater core, is we need to replace this transmission eventually. Like I said, I don't know if I said, I had one bought and then it was sold, and you know, I was trying to buy like a new old stock reman. I don't want to just put a random used one in it if I can help it. I mean, I will if I have to, but like, this one still works. It's just the problem is the trans mount where it bolts to, the bosses on the case of the transmission are all messed up, so, and unrepairable at that, unless you know a really good aluminum welder. And who would weld the case on a transmission without reverse? So whatever, that's another year problem, not this year. This is about the end of the driving year for Gray Van here and Blue Van. Not that Blue Van got driven, but first thing I hear about snow coming, it's getting put away in storage. Like, it's going to be in a dry storage this year, so that's great. But yeah, we've made it back home, and we still have heat, and I love it, and I am so happy I just did that, because I wasn't going to do that. I was going to do the radiator on the truck, and then I went and I cleaned up the yard a little bit, cleaned up my tools. I unpacked some parts out of Eggplant and put them in the back of another vehicle for another project, and that was that. And I'm like, Gray Van's right there, let's try it. I'll do the heater cord hose thing and whatever, and I'll check the heater valve. And I was gonna pull the little controller apart because maybe I messed the controller up, but clearly I didn't, because it works, and we have heat, and it's warm, and it's great, and I'm so happy. Anyway, that is gonna do it for this video on Gray Van. I will turn the heat off. It is ready to go for the morning. Now I'll be able to properly defrost my windows. So there was enough heat that kind of oozed into the heater core, like when it was cold before the thermostat opened up, that it would de-thaw the window, but that's about it. Anyway, now I've got heat, and I'm happy, and I'm excited. I don't know if you can tell I'm rambling. When I ramble like that, I'm usually excited. But that is going to do it for this episode of Gray Van, and we're almost done with the driving season. Like I said, we're at 174,890. I'm going to roll 175 here in a day or two, so that'll be cool. You guys will see a post on that. But that, I've said it like 4 times. That is going to do it for this episode on Gray Van, our 1993 Dodge Grand Caravan LE that was parked for, I want to say, 8 years before we put it back together back in 2021.